We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. These powerful words from the Declaration of Independence embody the belief that everyone deserves freedom and happiness. Yet, life can be cruelly unfair. Despite these ideals, many people still face prejudice and injustice that prevent them from fully enjoying these rights. Such was the heartbreaking case of a woman in Tyler, Texas, a city in the United States. This Ty Underwood, a beautiful and kind woman. She was deeply loved by her friends and family, who considered her a remarkable person with a positive impact on those around her. The only thing that set Ty apart was that she was born in a body that did not reflect her true identity. She was a transgender woman. At the age of 24, Ty Underwood moved from Lufkin to Tyler, Texas, looking forward to starting a new chapter in her life. Tyler is known as a conservative city where members of the LGBT community often don't feel safe. Many feel compelled to stay close and connected within their community rather than expressing themselves openly due to a lack of acceptance and understanding in the wider community. Even though she knew Tyler was not welcoming to the LGBTQ community, she didn't let that hold her back. Ty was determined to live her truth despite the city's conservative atmosphere. But tragically, she could never have anticipated that this decision would ultimately lead to the end of her life. At 2:36 a.m., on a quiet street in Tyler, a neighbor heard a crash. Looking out her window, she saw a car that had veered off the road, with its headlights still on and engine running. She promptly called 911. Within minutes, officers arrived at the scene, their body cameras recording a grisly first-person account. They found the victim sitting lifeless in the driver's seat, obscured by something over her. The officers quickly realized she had already passed away. It didn't take long for the officers on the scene to realize that this was no ordinary car accident. Initially puzzled by the unusual damage to the vehicle, their confusion swiftly turned to horror as they spotted blood and gunshot wounds, clearly not injuries caused by the crash. Blood coated the steering wheel, dashboard, front windshield, and the insides of the doors. This was Ty Underwood's blood. She had bled out, dead in the driver's seat. This was not a simple wreck as first suspected. It was a deliberate homicide. Officers began to count the bullet holes, tracing the trajectory of bullets from the back of the vehicle to the fatal shots that ended Ty's life. The scene was lit only by the car's headlights and the officers' flashlights as they meticulously went over every inch of the street, trying to piece together Ty's final moments. The gunshots had come from the right side, toward the left, indicating the shooter had been sitting in the passenger seat, firing across at the driver. This suggested Ty's killer was right next to her, opening fire and then likely jumping out while Ty desperately tried to drive away. But Ty wasn't just shot once, she was hit multiple times. Even as she fled, driving away and bleeding, her lungs punctured and failing, the assailant had continued to chase and shoot at her. The scenario was gruesomely clear. Whoever was shooting wanted to ensure Ty did not survive. There was evidence of a chaotic scene painted with broken glass and hit mailboxes. The car had apparently turned around, reversed, and then crashed into the grass, trapped in mud. Ty had tried to back out and escape, but with the wheels dug into the dirt, she had no chance. The calculated brutality of the attack left no opportunity for her survival. Police think they know how Ty Underwood was killed, but the question is why? During the investigation, officers found no signs of a robbery, since cash was left untouched in the console, and Ty was shot while trying to escape, suggesting a motive beyond theft. Additionally, they discovered Ty's phone in the car, which was playing music until the battery died. This clue suggested that the attack was personal and deliberate, complicating the mystery surrounding her tragic death. Did Ty Underwood know her killer? The answer might be locked behind the 4-digit passcode of her cell phone. Unable to immediately access the phone, investigators were stalled from discovering whom Ty had been communicating with. This critical piece of evidence was essential for tracing her last interactions and potentially identifying her murderer. Without the passcode, they feared they might never find the person responsible for this unspeakable crime. Ty Underwood was found shot to death behind the wheel of her car, marking a night of horrific violence in Tyler, Texas. Inside the car, detectives uncovered a bounty of clues, including a letter that proved pivotal. This letter led officers directly to Ty's home address, where they went the day after the murder. It was there that they met Ty's best friend and roommate, Kenya, who could potentially offer further insights into Ty's life and the circumstances leading up to her tragic death. At the police station, officers interviewed Kenya, Ty's best friend and roommate, about Ty's relationships. One name stood out: Carlton. Kenya mentioned that Carlton had stayed at their apartment a few times, and she provided a crucial detail. The only reason Ty would have left the house that night was to meet her boyfriend, Carlton. Carlton Champion, a 21-year-old freshman at Texas College, had a bad childhood but eventually found stability and made the college football team, becoming a notable figure on campus and in the community. However, his reputation faced a stark challenge when he was arrested in connection with the murder of Ty Underwood. During the investigation, Carlton admitted to knowing Ty but claimed they had only met once. He was surprised to learn about Ty's transgender identity, stating he thought Ty was a cisgender female. He also noted that although he knew Ty drove a white car, he had never been inside it. Carlton revealed they communicated through a chat app called Kik, which he had suspiciously deleted from his tablet the morning of the interview. This detail raised further questions about his involvement in Ty's tragic death. The freshman football player, Carlton Champion, insisted he never left his dorm room on the night of the murder. However, when the police reviewed the surveillance footage from the campus, they discovered a critical inconsistency in his alibi. The tapes clearly showed Carlton exiting his dorm shortly before the murder occurred and returning just minutes after Ty Underwood was found shot and bleeding behind the wheel of her car. The timestamps on the surveillance footage were tight, but provided just enough time for Carlton to leave the campus, commit the murder, and return. Carlton Champion wanted to keep his relationship with Ty Underwood secret from his friends and the football team at his college. He did not want Ty coming to campus and exposing their relationship. When investigators unlocked Ty's phone, they found a telling message from her to Carlton on the night she was killed, simply stating, "I'm here." This text placed Ty and Carlton together at the scene. Carlton claimed he never left his dorm that night, but evidence suggested otherwise. After discovering Ty's dead in her car with multiple gunshot wounds, suspicion quickly fell on Carlton. Further sealing Carlton's fate was a key piece of evidence: a DNA sample taken from inside Ty's car. The lab results were conclusive, matching Carlton's DNA found on the seat belt and the door handle, surfaces of the very car he claimed never to have been inside. With this evidence, detectives were confident they had found Ty's killer. They brought Carlton back to the police station for another interview, now armed with overwhelming evidence against him. The police believed that with the overwhelming evidence against him, Carlton Champion would break under the pressure during the interrogation. Yet, even while handcuffed, the young football star maneuvered through each question with a disturbing ease, showing no signs of remorse. In a moment that stunned the investigators, when asked directly about the night of the murder, Champion's response was shockingly cavalier. He simply smiled and said he wanted a hamburger. This nonchalant demeanor made it painfully clear. that Carlton was not taking the situation seriously, seemingly convinced that he could outmaneuver the charges against him. Despite the overwhelming evidence, Carlton Champion never confessed to the murder of Ty Underwood. His behavior in court further sealed his fate. He often laughed and joked, treating the proceedings as trivial, even as his lawyer tried to get him to take things seriously. This lack of remorse was evident throughout the trial, and ultimately, the jury found him guilty of first-degree murder. He could have faced as little as 5 years in prison, but his continued arrogance in court led to a life sentence instead. Even as he received his sentence, Carlton did not stop taunting Ty's grieving family, which required the intervention of 4 officers to calm the situation. It became clear that Carlton had committed the murder out of fear that his secret relationship with a transgender woman would be exposed, a thought he could not bear. The motive for the murder, rooted in fear of exposure about his relationship with a transgender woman, also highlights the severe stigma and discrimination that transgender people face. It is a stark reminder of the dangerous pressures and societal judgments that can drive individuals to commit heinous acts to protect their perceived reputation or identity. This case is a tragic example of how deeply ingrained prejudices can lead to violence and the ultimate price that is paid by victims like Ty Underwood, who are unjustly targeted simply for living as their true selves. Thanks for watching our video. Let us know your thoughts on this case in the comments below. And don't forget to click the follow button for more true crime documentaries. Your support helps us continue exploring and sharing these important stories.